It was a short 30-day session this year at the legislature, nominally just to pass the budget, but plenty of other bills and memorials were also introduced. In last year's session, a controversial and expansive if you like, a tax bill passed in the final minutes. This year wasn't quite that crazy, but several bills did fly through in the final moments. So joining us to dissect this session, we have a group of media pros who have been following the Roundhouse developments for a long time. That includes Steve Terrell with the Santa Fe New Mexican. He's here. Also joining us for the first time on the line, we have another media veteran, good friend Sherry Robinson with New Mexico News Services. So glad you're here, Sherry. Awesome. Coming back to the line table from the Albuquerque Journal is our friend Dan Boyd. Welcome back. Rachel Sams, new editor-in-chief, Albuquerque Business First. Let me just say congratulations. Good for you. Well deserved. Steve, you've covered a lot of legislative sessions over the years. What was the mood at the end? I'm curious because I asked this in the context of last year's session, of course, ended on that wacky Saturday that no one will ever forget. I'm sure
Saturday.
Right. We had a bit of a different ending this year. What do you attribute that to? Was there a mood going in that you sense that we just don't want to have another situation like that? We need to have a budget here in a timely manner.
Well, yeah, they finally did get a budget. I don't know if it's a timely manner, but they finally got it. This is the first time I've ever seen the Senate actually introduce the bill that eventually became the budget.
Yep.
There was not a big, ambitious package like there was last year, and it was only 30 days. There's a lot less stuff to discuss. Mm-hmm. But one thing I kept hearing over and over again was, especially the first 3 weeks of the session, what are they doing reading all these memorials, all this, tributes to politicians and, baseball teams and stuff. Sure. Why are they doing this? And part of it, I think, the conspiracy theory I kept hearing was, well, they're doing it on purpose because two Democrats are out for the whole session, Ernest Chavez and Philip Archuleta. And maybe they're trying to wait till they can come back. They never came back.
I heard a lot of that too, like there was going to be some epic wheeling in of people at the very end.
Yeah, there was. I kept hearing that, but Kenny Martinez, the Speaker of the House, said he was not going to do that.
Yeah.
Indeed, he didn't.
Yeah.
But he had to be asked. And
Sherry, interesting point Steve just makes. He mentions leadership and Kenny Martinez on the Democrat side. Again, referring back to last year, I just got a feeling that leadership was not interested in a mess like last year, where you have a big bill thrown in front of folks and people didn't know necessarily what they were voting for because they didn't have time to read it and the whole thing. How do you think leadership approached the session this year, and what were the differences that you gleaned?
Well, I think there was leadership last year and this year. I'm a fan of Ken Martinez. I think he's the right guy at the right time, and he has a sense of humor. He doesn't take himself too seriously, and he has a calming effect. And one of the things you'll see him do over and over again is when things start to get tense, and he always knows when they're getting tense because he seems to have his fingers on the pulse, he'll tell a corny joke and he'll get everyone to laugh. Last year, I stuck up for him in a column, and for that I got trashed by a few bloggers, but I continue to think
Steve's going, I can relate to that,
Yeah, I continue to think that he's the right guy at the right time, and I think in what you saw in the background was Martinez working very closely with the minority leader, Don Bratton, to make sure it ran smoothly in the House. Now, I can't speak for the Senate.
Sure.
But Martinez is a guy who has his eye on the ball and, doesn't have a whole lot of appetite for theatrics.
Sure. He's an interesting cat, isn't he? He kind of fits that, what was it? Churchill said, "I like a man who smiles when he fights." He's one of those, he's one of those personalities. I appreciate you saying that about him. Rural versus urban, Dan, is always a tension in the Roundhouse. I mean, certain dynamics of certain years give the upper hand to rural folks. Certain dynamics in other years give the upper hand to urban folks, if you want to see it that way. What was going on when you look at it, rural versus urban, meaning water needs, all kinds of different needs for money, and what actually happened?
Well, water was a big issue. I mean, it was another one I think that people realized something did need to be done on that this year. And in the final capital outlay bill, I think $86 million for water projects, dams around the state, some communities who actually ran out of water last summer. That's right. So that was, and maybe not so much, Albuquerque and Santa Fe have their own water needs, but some of these small communities is more dire. So I think that's one way it played out. The governor had asked for, I think, $112 million, so even more. So didn't quite get what she asked for,
projects,
but still a pretty good chunk of change for water projects. And So I think, with the redistricting, we're seeing it becoming a more and more urban legislature, but certainly still the rural areas have some strong representation.
Sure, absolutely. Rachel, business, depending on one's point of view, either won out pretty okay this time, or maybe it was, I've heard some others saying it was a good start. There's so many needs. It was a good start. We need some more stuff. Your sense of where business came out?
It was a really interesting contrast to last year, I think,
Mm-hmm.
whereas in the last few minutes of the session you had that sweeping tax bill passed. A lot of things that people had been talking about and thinking about for a while just suddenly came to pass at the very last minute.
Right.
Didn't really see anything like that this year, and there's a lot of discussion and debate going on right now about how to shape our economy, how to grow our economy, and I think that will just take some time to really percolate into big initiatives that you've
Speaking
seen.
of which, glad you mentioned that. We did have something pass in the last less than a minute to go in this session, and it had to do with economic development. Explain that bill. It was pretty
Right,
interesting.
the funding bill for the SIC and the State Investment Council dealing with the cap that they have on the amount of foreign investments they can make. It's, I believe it's 15%.
Right.
It's very dated, so they were looking for ways to mix up their investments.
Being
a bit,
kind with
get a-
dated. It goes back to the 70s,
the 70s, right?
Yeah.
That's what they said. Looking for ways to mix up their investments a little bit, pursue a little higher return. The thing that's interesting about it is now that's going to be presented to the voters, and as we were talking about before the taping, that might be a hard one to get voters to wrap their brains around. Why should they pass this?
It's interesting to consider that, Steve. A constitutional amendment is something so Byzantine. Usually we think, marijuana, something big and broad and that kind of thing.
Well, the ones that make it, the ones that make it to the ballot are the more Byzantine, more technical things. Where the big controversial ones, they tend to shy away from. It seems, maybe somebody can contradict me on that, but I don't remember any big controversial marijuana, abortion, gay marriage type issues making it to the constitutional, to the ballot in November.
That's right. We did have some movement on lottery scholarship, however, and there was an interesting trail to get there. In a little bit of time we have left, go ahead and cover where we are now with lottery scholarships.
Well, this is also passed in the Senate, I think, the very last day. It was, they're going to use liquor excise tax to help shore up the lottery system. The lottery system has been kind of stagnant. People aren't gambling like they should, I guess. And they've been, 15 million short about, or something like that.
Even more than 20 million.
Yeah, right. And so they're going to use liquor excise tax and a few other things too. It's only going to be good for 7 semesters as opposed to 8. And so, that kind of bounced back and forth. Some people were predicting like a week before, like, boy, they're not going to do a lottery fix. It finally did get through, got to the House made some changes with Jason Harper's amendment, and he kind of made a faux pas. He said, I know that the Senate majority leader isn't going to like this, but stand up to him, and he kind of got some feathers ruffled there, and probably unnecessarily, but Michael Sanchez indeed didn't stop it. The lottery's his baby. He sponsored the first bill back in the 90s, and so it probably caused a little hard feelings, but they probably forgot, just the last day of the session. There's pressures and
I bet you're right.
tensions rising.
I bet you're right. Sherry, it's interesting. It's an election year, of course, for the House. Everybody's up for grabs, as they say. The politics of the session, meaning a session in an election year, did it affect what happened up there and who came out of it? Democrats coming out of it okay? Republicans? Governor Martinez, is she coming out of it okay? How does this all shape up for this election year?
Well, for me, I watch how they use words. And to me, the wording of a lot of things was interesting. I mean, for example, they've taken to calling what used to be public works. All of a sudden, those are jobs bills.
Right.
Jobs bills. They're shovel ready and all of that, all of those other good words. And then on the economic development stuff, that was all kind of basic economic development 101. I mean, there wasn't anything in there that I haven't heard before in the last 20 years. Not a whole lot of new thinking there, and everybody claimed it. The governor claimed it, and the Dems claimed it. And then sometimes they would claim to, a compromise. Oh, I can work with the other side. Yes, and I can work with the other side too. And there was a lot of that. I would say they kind of came out where they were in the beginning.
Right. It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah.
Dan, I want to finish up the segment. A couple things. Education. Where do we stand on education now? But then also, I don't have a sense, being down in Albuquerque, and you guys are up there full time, how active was the Martinez administration in this particular session from your point of view? We're certainly not expecting something of the size of the hand of Governor Richardson, but I sense it was different than the past few sessions for this governor.
I think behind the scenes, I think they were very active. I mean, we didn't see the governor a lot. I mean, we didn't see the governor at all during the session.
Right.
But I think behind the scenes, especially on the education budget, I mean, there was a lot of, they really wanted a lot more of this so-called below-the-line funding, which Hannah Scandera and the Public Education Department can control. And there's a lot of push from the Democrats, you know, to resist that and keep it going through the state funding formula. Right. So that actually became, I think, the major debate on the budget and the reason it got hung up in the House.
That's right.
As we were talking about it, I think in the end, both sides, you know, weren't totally happy, but they found kind of a, I guess you could say, a middle ground on that. So.
Sure. Interesting. And Governor Martinez, sticking with her for a second, Rachel, it was interesting how she came out and said, look, I would have supported a minimum wage of a certain type. And it turns out a lot of folks didn't even know she had support for this. Hey, your sense of that, what, for the business community, was that a bullet dodged, or what happened there with this $8 thing?
That's fascinating. I really think, I mean, it's going to be back. You know, this issue is not going away. It makes a lot of businesses nervous, the idea of a minimum wage increase. It's more, you know, more dollars out of their pocket. But at the same time, you have just a lot of low-income population that's really struggling in the state. So how to get more money out to
And
the
as
people.
we've all seen, that, you know, the wagons are sort of circling, county by county, city by city.
Right.
It's not just in stasis. So anyway, coming up, we talk with a medical sociologist about facts and fallacies around mental illness and gun violence.